In a quiet neighborhood of Chicago, the calm of the local police station was abruptly interrupted when a little girl arrived screaming, "Help me please! Take my dad away!" This unexpected request left everyone perplexed, without imagining that the reason behind it would deeply shock them all. Dear viewers, subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. On a bright Thursday morning, tranquility reigned at the Chicago police station. The fans were lazily spinning, struggling to alleviate the stifling heat as the officers savored their coffees and filled out reports with disinterest. It was a typical calm day, reflecting the serene nature of the neighborhood. However, this peace was abruptly interrupted when the station doors were opened with surprising force, revealing the figure of a little girl with brown hair and wide, terror-stricken eyes. She ran inside, her eyes swollen from crying, casting desperate glances around in search of something or someone. It was Emma, a child of only 7 years, noticeably small for her age and visibly terrified. Without hesitation, the girl rushed towards the reception, her small feet producing a rhythmic sound against the cold ceramic floor. With her tiny hands, she clung to the counter with all the strength she had, striving to lift herself enough to get the attention of any adult who could offer help. "Help me, please. Take my dad away," she whispered with a trembling voice loaded with despair that reverberated throughout the room, capturing the immediate attention of all the officers present. Initially, there was visible discomfort among them. They exchanged puzzled looks as some interrupted their coffee breaks, putting their cups aside, while others instantly abandoned the documents they were working on. The girl's declaration caused immediate commotion, stirring the atmosphere of the police station with a mix of urgency and concern. She looked at the officers, her eyes overflowing with anguish, and pleaded again, "You must take him away. He can't stay home with me." Immediately, Officer Maria, a young policewoman with a warm demeanor, ran to the scene, drawn by the desperate plea that had reached her office. With a gesture full of maternal care, she took Emma's hand and led her to a nearby bench. "Calm down, sweetie. Come here, sit here," she said, lowering herself to the same level as the girl's eyes, trying to envelop her with a sense of security. "It's okay now, you are safe here with us," she spoke softly, running her hand through Emma's hair in an attempt to ease her fear. Emma, in turn, felt her heart racing, her shoulders trembling involuntarily, and tears rolling down her face. The situation enveloped her in a cloak of vulnerability and fear, making each heartbeat a palpable reminder of her state of agitation. Meanwhile, one of the officers present maintained his posture, trying to convey an aura of safety and understanding. He leaned towards her, his voice tinged with a comforting tone. "What happened, dear? You don't need to cry. You are safe with us. Can you tell us what happened?" His words, although full of comforting intentions, seemed to float aimlessly, unable to penetrate the invisible barrier surrounding the frightened girl. She clung to Maria's shirt, her eyes still wide and teary, as the police station hall was filled with an atmosphere of confusion and concern. Around, each officer exchanged uneasy glances, reflecting a mix of curiosity and alarm. Murmurs circulated discreetly, fueled by the questions silently echoing among them. What did this girl's father do? However, the most touching part was the evidence that Emma's words carried a burden too heavy for her young shoulders, an emotional load that no being of her tender age should bear. Officer Maria, still sitting next to the little one, displayed a mixture of determination and compassion. She leaned towards Emma, trying once again to break through the barrier of pain and silence surrounding her. "Come on, dear," she said with a soft voice, an attempt to offer comfort while gently wiping away the tears that insisted on tracing paths down Emma's face. Her calm voice tried to convey a silent promise of understanding in hopes of calming the emotional storm assailing the girl. Commissioner Roberts, an imposing man with salt and pepper hair, rose from his desk with a posture denoting authority. With measured steps, he approached the little girl, his imposing presence filling the space with a mixture of respect and expectation as he tried to unravel the enigma before him. "Hello, little girl," he said, his deep voice echoing with unexpected cordiality. "What are you doing here alone? Why did you come here, huh?" The girl's breath, quick and interrupted by sobs, betrayed her deep anguish. Even in the center of a circle of protective figures, there was a glimmer of vulnerability in her eyes, a reflection of fear that transcended the physical safety of the environment. Each sob was a palpable reminder of her situation, a raw expression of a young heart facing an anguishing reality, shrouded in a mantle of insecurity that even the walls of the police station could not dissipate. Despite the questions, Emma remained silent and with her head down. Gradually, a growing wave of curious and concerned officers began to surround the girl, forming a semicircle around her. With a voice that carried the intention of calming and assuring, the commissioner leaned forward again and questioned, "Come on, beautiful girl, can you tell us what happened at your house?" Emma made an attempt to respond, but the words she tried to form were interrupted, emerging in a truncated and confused manner. "Take him away. He can't stay at home with me. I want him to go to jail, please," she pleaded with a voice that carried a mix of desperation and urgency. Her plea resonated with a force that amplified the sense of fear among all present, making the gravity of the situation palpable in the girl's broken words. Realizing the growing crowd of curious officers gathering around, with a concern that threatened to further intimidate the little Emma, the police and the commissioner made a prompt decision. They concluded that it was essential to change the environment to a space offering more privacy and safety for the girl to express herself. With delicacy and a clear intention to protect her from more stress, they decided to take her to the interrogation room. This choice reflected not only a strategy to preserve Emma's emotional integrity, but also an effort to ensure that her voice, no matter how fragile it seemed, was heard with the attention and seriousness the situation demanded. "Come, my dear," said the officer with a soft voice as she gently helped the girl to stand up carefully. "Let's go to a quieter place to talk, okay?" Seated in the chair of the room meant for more reserved conversations, the little girl seemed to find some comfort, a temporary relief that made her relax slightly. Perceiving this change, the officer seized the moment to try to deepen the conversation. "Tell me, Emma, what happened? Did your father hurt you? Did he do something to hurt you?" Maria, with a mixture of delicacy and determination, hoped to obtain some concrete clue that could guide her action. However, trying to articulate a response, Emma's expression transformed into visible frustration, a clear sign of her internal struggle to express such complex and painful feelings. "Daddy gets angry sometimes." Emma's words faded, disappearing before completing the thought, leaving a dense cloud of uncertainties and speculations in the room. "How does he get angry, dear?" asked the officer, with a voice mixing concern and gentleness. At that moment, the room was filled with an expectant silence, the officers present with their minds in a frenzy, beginning to piece together this dark puzzle, imagining scenarios none of them wished to confront. They questioned whether they were facing a case of domestic violence or abuse, something so serious that a child sought refuge at the police station and begged for her father's arrest. The commissioner, recognizing the weight of the moment and the sadness in Emma's eyes when mentioning her father, bent down to be at eye level with the girl. With a soft voice, he tried to convey security and understanding. "We will help you, Emma," he said gently. "But for that, I need you to try to tell us a little more. Can you do that?" Emma, still struggling to hold back tears, nodded, a simple but significant gesture demonstrating her trust in those who proposed to help her. "So let's go. I will ask you some questions, and you can answer with yes or no, okay?" proposed the commissioner, seeking to make it easier for Emma to express her experience without feeling overwhelmed. Roberts, seeking to clarify the situation, asked delicately, "Is your father home now?" "Yes," murmured Emma, a brief response that conveyed her distress. "And how did you manage to leave home?" he continued, encouraging her to share more. Wiping away the tears that still insisted on falling, Emma revealed, "Daddy was asleep. I unlocked the door and ran." The commissioner and the officer, focusing on unraveling the girl's confusing narrative, sought details that could clarify the case. With a voice filled with maternal care, the officer asked, "Emma, is your father very aggressive? Does he hit you?" Emma's hesitation before responding was palpable, as if weighing each word. I have been hit a few times," she confessed, with accelerated breathing. Emma's response intensified the officer's concern, exacerbating the already tense atmosphere. They inquired about her home's address. Even without knowing precise details, the directions provided by Emma were enough to locate where she and her father lived, in an area near a sewage-polluted stream, facilitating the identification of the residents. When the commissioner asked about Emma's mother, the atmosphere became even heavier. Daddy said she went for a walk but never came back. Emma's simple report of her mother's disappearance petrified everyone present. The seriousness of the situation became increasingly evident, concluding that they were facing a case of family violence, aggravated by the strange circumstance of a man raising his daughter without the mother's presence, claiming she had gone for a walk. The police station quickly turned into a hub of frantic activity. Officers moved back and forth, coordinating efforts and outlining action plans with urgency. A team was promptly organized to head to Emma's residence, mentally preparing to face the worst possibilities. The commissioner, recognizing the gravity of the situation, grabbed the radio with determination and established contact with a patrol car already on its way to the provided address. His firm and clear voice conveyed the urgency of the moment. "Attention unit, we have a possible 1032 code for domestic violence. It is crucial that the suspect finds no gaps to escape. Proceed with all necessary caution." This instruction was not just a standard procedure but reflected the seriousness with which the police station treated cases of mistreatment, emphasizing the importance of acting with prudence to ensure everyone's safety, especially Emma's. With her voice still trembling, Emma continued to recount, her words laden with fear. "Every night he gets nervous. He says he can't take it anymore." The officers present exchanged worried glances, each trying to understand the depth of what Emma was trying to express with her anguished words. Given the gravity of the insinuations, the commissioner intervened, seeking clarification. "What does your father say he can't take any more, Emma?" The commissioner's words seemed to touch a sensitive point, as the girl's eyes once again filled with tears, and she revealed with a simplicity that cut through the heart. "He hit the fridge door. Hey, I got scared." At that moment, a silent understanding spread among everyone present. The reality of the situation became clear and unmistakable. Little Emma was the defenseless victim of a man whose violence could no longer be ignored. The need to intervene became more urgent than ever. It was imperative to act to protect the girl and detain the person responsible for her suffering. While the police station prepared for the suspect's arrival, elsewhere at Emma's residence, David was deeply asleep. The silence of his home was abruptly broken by the shrill sound of police sirens parking in front of the house. The sight that unfolded before the agents was desolate. A wooden house with paint worn by time, cobwebs adorning forgotten corners, and tall grass surrounding the perimeter, giving the place an almost sinister air. Without hesitation, the police broke down the front door, invading the space with resolute authority, announcing their presence with firm commands for David to surrender. Taken by surprise, he barely had a chance to process what was happening before being handcuffed and led outside. His verbalized confusion turned into protests. "What is happening? Why am I being arrested?" One of the officers, with pragmatic coldness, informed him of his rights while directing him to the patrol car. Hearing the word police station, David recoiled, the confusion giving way to panic. "Police station? No, I didn't do anything. Me go. I have a child at home. Let me go." David's attempt to resist was quickly contained by the officers, who, with cutting harshness, revealed the reason for his arrest. "Your daughter Emma is at the police station. The jig is up, buddy. Get in there." Being pushed into the vehicle, the reality of the situation began to penetrate his fog of confusion. "My daughter, what is she doing there? Tell me." Fear overwhelmed him as he was ordered to be quiet, and the car headed towards the police station. At the station, the deep rumble of the patrol car's engine signaled the team's return from Emma's residence. The air was thick with anticipation, with all the officers aligned in palpable tension, waiting for news of the operation. But as the patrol car door opened, what emerged challenged preconceived expectations. From that vehicle did not emerge the imposing figure of an aggressor, as many imagined, but a rugged man whose disheveled appearance betrayed his condition, with pale skin, sunken eyes marked by fatigue, and muscles that suggested a possible state of malnutrition. David looked like a shadow of despair. His worn and dirty clothes mirrored an existence marked by severe difficulties, painting a picture of reality that contrasted with the accusations of violence. The sight of David still handcuffed caused murmurs among those present at the station. How could that man, apparently so fragile and debilitated, be capable of inflicting physical harm on his own daughter? This doubt hovered in the whispered conversations as he, confused and visibly desperate, questioned why he was there. "What's going on? Why am I here?" David's trembling voice of uncertainty and fear echoed in the room, leaving a trail of questions about the true nature of the events that led to this situation. When David finally saw Emma, a whirlwind of emotions invaded him, immense relief mixed with even greater concern. For her part, Emma, seeing her father in that state of vulnerability, did not hesitate. Contrary to all the expectations of those present, she ran across the room and threw herself into her father's arms. "Daddy!" she shouted, her eyes shining with tears as she surrendered to an embrace full of emotions. David's eyes, unable to contain the rising tide of feelings, also filled with tears. The scene before the officers was, to say the least, disconcerting. "I thought he mistreated the girl," commented the commissioner, his voice tinged with surprise and reflection as he approached with Officer Maria. Both shared a look of disbelief at the unfolding events. David, still trying to comprehend the complexity of the situation he found himself in, questioned with a mix of confusion and despair. "What? Mistreating? What are you talking about? Why am I here handcuffed? What is my daughter doing in this police station?" The interaction between father and daughter amidst such severe circumstances cast doubt on the initial assumptions, suggesting that the reality of Emma and David's story might be very different from what was initially imagined. But then why had Emma denounced him? The room's occupants exchanged confused glances, seeking in each other's expressions some clue on what to do next. It was at this moment of uncertainty that Emma's thin, innocent voice cut through the heavy silence that enveloped everyone. "I asked them to arrest you, Daddy," she said, her eyes full of hope directed at David. "But why? What did I do, my daughter?" David questioned, his heart pounding erratically, the confusion and fear evident in his voice. The perplexity was palpable on the man's face as he alternated his gaze between his daughter and the officers, in a frantic attempt to piece together this unexpected reality. The police station, once a stage of tension and confusion, fell into absolute silence. David, still unable to make sense of the situation and understand the reason for his handcuffs, addressed his daughter again, his eyes overflowing with worry and sadness. "My daughter, what do you mean you asked them to arrest me? Why would you do that?" Emma, struggling against the knot in her throat, raised her face to look at her father, and with an emotion so deep she could barely hold back tears, whispered almost inaudibly, I just wanted you to be able to eat, Daddy." This simple confession reverberated through the room like a shocking revelation, leaving everyone speechless. Emma continued, her voice trembling with the force of the feeling driving her. "I saw on TV, Daddy. They said that in prison, people get food 3 times a day." Emma's statement cast a new light on the situation, an unexpected and moving truth revealing the depths of a daughter's concern and love for her father. Tears slid freely down Emma's face, each drop reflecting the purity of her broken heart. I remember that night," she began, her voice choked with emotion, "when I heard you crying. You were in the kitchen, the fridge was open, and you were so sad, Daddy, asking why there was no food. You hit the fridge and shouted." A profound silence fell over the room, everyone present immobilized by the gravity of the girl's confession. The raw reality of her domestic life, marked by hunger and despair, was now evident to all. David, facing the astonished looks, felt compelled to explain, his voice carrying a weight that only truth can have. He began to clarify the situation, unraveling the mystery that had left everyone perplexed. With each word, the fog of doubt dissipated, revealing the sad reality of his struggle against extreme poverty, a scenario where the lack of food became a daily torment. David's story, told between sobs and pauses to swallow hard, was not just a tale of adversity but also a testimony of a daughter's desperate love, who in her innocence saw prison as a solution to her father's persistent hunger. The revelation, as painful as it was touching, left everyone in the room deeply moved, confronted with the harsh reality of a family in crisis. It was a story of unparalleled sacrifice, of a father who, despite his own hunger, prioritized his daughter's nourishment as the ultimate expression of his unwavering love. David, facing life as a single father since the passing of his wife, had constructed a delicate reality to protect Emma. He invented the story that the girl's mother had gone for a walk to spare her the harsh truth of her permanent loss, not imagining it would feed a false hope in her little heart. The family's financial situation was precarious, exacerbated by David's lack of professional qualifications and prolonged unemployment. Every resource he managed to obtain was dedicated to buying food, enough only for one, and he did not hesitate to give every gram of food to his daughter, resulting in his own growing malnutrition, a reality Emma was painfully aware of. David's despair reached unbearable peaks after nightfall when Emma was asleep. In one of those nights, faced with an empty fridge, his frustration consumed him, and he took out his anger on the refrigerator door, shouting about the injustice of not being able to provide for his daughter. Emma, having awakened and witnessed this outburst of despair, was scared and ran back to her room, but the scene etched itself into her mind, making her aware of her father's hunger. Then, one morning after the scarce supplies were exhausted, Emma turned on the TV, hoping to watch a cartoon, but instead she encountered a local news report discussing prison conditions. The only information she grasped was, prisoners receive food 3 times a day. In her tender age's innocence, Emma saw this as a desperate solution to her father's persistent hunger. This revelation motivated her to run to the police station, driven by the naive belief that by having her father arrested, he would finally have access to regular meals. The scene was desolate. David, with tears marking paths on his face, drew his daughter into a protective and enveloping embrace. "Forgive me, daughter. I'm so sorry for this," he murmured, his voice choked with emotion. The officers present, many of them parents, felt a pang in their hearts. The circumstances before them served as a cruel mirror, reflecting the adversities faced by numerous families, particularly in times of economic crisis. What was initially approached as a potential case of domestic violence now revealed itself as a sharp portrait of the realities faced by those on the margins of society. The investigation had transformed, unfolding into a powerful reminder of human fragility and the daily struggle against poverty. Released, David and Emma returned home, their hearts filled with renewed and intense love for each other. However, the next morning reserved an unexpected and welcome surprise. The two were awakened by firm knocks on the door. Upon opening it, they found themselves before a scene they could never have imagined. Several community members, accompanied by police officers from the station, bringing baskets overflowing with food, new clothes, and toys. David and Emma's eyes shone with joy as Emma hurried to explore the toys. David could not hold back the tears that sprang from emotion and gratitude. Before David could recover from the initial surprise, the commissioner added an unexpected proposal. "We are looking for a janitor for the station. Would you be interested?" More tears welled up in David's eyes, the impact of those people's generosity hitting him fully. Accustomed to facing adversities alone, the solidarity shown was something he could hardly dream of. I don't even know what to say. Yes, of course I accept. Thank you very much. May God give back double to all of you," he managed to express, moved. At that moment Emma, drawn by the sight of the toys, ran to the door exclaiming with joy, "Look, Daddy, so many toys." "Yes, dear, they are all for you," David replied, wiping away tears and sharing in the pure happiness that overflowed from his daughter's face. That day transformed into a milestone of happiness and hope, a memorable reminder of the power of community and human compassion. In the following week, the police station, once a place David could never imagine stepping into, became his workplace, refuge, and the marker of a new chapter in his life. As the days passed, the moving story of Emma, who had her father arrested so he could eat, reverberated through the town, becoming a beacon of inspiration for the community to mobilize in aid of the most needy. Driven by Emma's simple gesture, propelled by unconditional love for her father, volunteers began organizing donation fairs and social assistance programs to ensure no family suffered from hunger or lack of basic resources. Emma's gesture, born of pure love and concern, ended up transforming the entire community, bringing help to numerous needy families. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story.